The rain didn't stop. Cold water dropped from the gray sky, hitting the metal streets of New Carthos, a spaceport city filled with bright lights and loud engines. But under those lights, in a dark corner near a street noodle stall, sat a girl, thin, weak, and not human. Her name was Xeno. She had pale violet skin, but it was stained with dust. Her long fingers trembled from cold, and her glowing green eyes had no light left in them. Her clothes were torn, barely covering her body. People walked past her, but no one stopped. "She's one of those useless aliens," a woman said, pulling her child away. "She's ugly," said a vendor, kicking a small box near her. "She's just trash." Xeno didn't speak. She had stopped crying 2 days ago. There were no more tears left. Her stomach growled, but she had nothing. Her clan had thrown her out after calling her defective. They said her limp made her useless for work. Her looks didn't fit their beauty standards, so she was rejected even as a mate. She had begged to stay. They had laughed and thrown stones at her. Now here she was, alone, cold, hungry. Suddenly someone walked close. She didn't look up. Most people only came to spit or kick, but this person didn't do either. Instead, she heard a man's voice, calm, kind. "Hey," he said. "Are you okay?" Xeno slowly raised her eyes. A tall human man stood before her. His clothes were dirty like a worker or mechanic. His hair was messy, and his boots were soaked in rain. But his eyes, they didn't have hate. They had something she didn't recognize at first. Concern. She blinked, then lowered her head again. "Go away," she whispered. But the man didn't move. He took off his brown jacket and knelt in front of her. "You're freezing," he said. "I don't want your pity," she muttered, her voice weak. "It's not pity," he replied. "It's help. Just let me help." She didn't understand. No one had helped her before. What did he want? The man gently placed the jacket over her shoulders. She flinched like she was going to be hit. But the jacket was warm, heavy, smelled of oil and metal, but safe. "My name's Eli," he said. "I work in the junkyard across the West Dome." Xeno didn't speak. "Can you walk?" he asked. She tried to stand. Her left leg hurt badly. She fell against him and he caught her. "You're light," he said, surprised. "When did you last eat?" She didn't answer. Without another word, Eli picked her up. People stared. Some laughed. A guard even called out, "Hey, don't bring that alien freak into your home." Eli ignored them. Xeno rested her head against his chest. His heart was beating strong. It had been a long time since she felt another heartbeat. Something warm moved inside her chest. Something she thought was dead. Hope. Eli carried her through a narrow alley and opened a small metal door. Inside was a simple room, tools, wires, old machines, and a broken sofa. The place smelled of metal and warm bread. He gently placed her on the sofa and handed her a towel. "Dry yourself," he said, then turned to make something in the small kitchen. Xeno watched him. Why was this human being kind? Was it a trick? Was he going to sell her? Use her? She was too tired to care. Eli came back with a steaming bowl. "Soup," he said, placing it in front of her. "I know it's not much, but it'll help." She looked at the bowl. Her hands shook as she held it. She brought it close to her lips and drank slowly. It was hot. Simple. But to her it tasted like life. "Why?" she asked suddenly. "Why what?" Eli replied. "Why are you helping me?" He looked at her for a moment, then said, "Because no one else did." Xeno stared at him. No one had said that before. No one had ever seen her as anything more than useless. But this human, I didn't care about what she looked like, didn't care about her limp, didn't ask for anything. She lowered her eyes again and whispered, "My name is Xeno." Eli smiled. "Nice to meet you, Xeno." Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside the junkyard house, for the first time in years, Xeno felt safe. Zira didn't know when she fell asleep. The sound of the rain outside became distant. Her body, wrapped in the human's jacket, felt warm, too warm. For a moment she thought she had died and was dreaming, but when she opened her eyes, she saw soft, yellow lights above. The walls were metal, scratched and full of hanging tools. She was lying on a makeshift bed, a couch with a blanket over it. Her hands were bandaged, and a heater hummed nearby. She was still alive. She sat up quickly, her heart pounding. Where was she? Was she captured, sold? Then she smelled something. Eggs and bread. The scent led her to the corner of the room where the human man, Eli, stood near a small cooking plate. His back was turned to her. His shirt was old and stained with oil, but he moved gently with care. No chains, no weapons. She froze, unsure. Should she run? Before she could decide, Eli turned. "You're awake," he said with a soft smile. "That's good." Zira didn't speak. She just watched him with wide eyes. "I made food," he said, placing a plate on the table. "Eat. No poison. I promise." She hesitated. "I already gave you soup last night," Eli said. "If I wanted to hurt you, I had my chance." Still quiet, Zira stood up slowly and limped over to the table. Her leg still hurt, but not as badly. She sat and looked at the food. Fried eggs, toasted bread, and a small cup of water. "You need strength," Eli said, sitting nearby. "You were out cold all night." Zira picked up the toast. It was crispy and warm. She bit it carefully. Her body reacted with surprise. It was real, it was good. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the quiet chewing of bread and the distant buzz of machines outside the building. After a few minutes, Zira asked in a whisper, "Why did you not turn me in?" Eli looked at her. "Turn you in to who?" "The clan patrol. They want me gone. I'm defective." Eli leaned back. "Where I come from, we don't throw people away just because they're different." Zira's hands trembled slightly. She didn't look up. "Besides," he added, "you're not the first alien I've helped." She finally looked at him, curious. "What do you mean?" Eli stood and walked to a shelf. He picked up a small photo frame. Inside was a picture of a young alien girl, not Zira, but someone who looked close to her species. She had short silver hair and large blue eyes. "She was my friend," Eli said softly. "Found her during the Battle of Harkon Ridge. She saved my life, died doing it." Zira's voice was quiet. "I'm sorry." "She was brave," he said. "You remind me of her." That made Zira frown. "I'm not brave. I'm weak. Useless. That's why they threw me out." Eli put the photo back. "You survived alone for how long? Days, weeks, with no food, no help?" Zira nodded slowly. "Then you're not weak," Eli said. "You're stronger than most people I know." For a few seconds, she didn't know what to say. No one had ever said something like that to her. After breakfast, Eli gave her a clean towel and pointed to a small back room. "You can wash up in there. Water's cold, but it works." Zira stepped into the room and stared at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the girl looking back. Dirty hair, bruised skin, eyes too tired for someone so young. She touched her face. "Useless," she whispered. But a small voice in her head answered back. "He doesn't think so." Later that day, Eli returned from his workshop to find Zira sitting near a box of tools. She was watching him work, fixing a small drone. "You know machines?" he asked. She shook her head. "I watched the clan males fix our transporters before they threw me out." "Want to learn?" Zira blinked. "You'd teach me?" Eli shrugged. "Sure. You're already good at watching quietly. That's step one." A strange thing happened then. Zira smiled, just a little. That night the two of them sat quietly as the city lights flickered outside. Zira sat on the couch again, holding a blanket tight. "You can stay," Eli said. "For how long?" "As long as you want." Zira turned toward him, her eyes soft but unsure. I don't understand humans. Eli chuckled. We don't either. Outside, another cold wind blew through the streets of New Carthos. But inside that small junkyard home, something warm had started to grow. Not pity, not fear, but trust. The sun on New Carthos never really rose. It just became less dark. Through the scratched windows of the junkyard home, a soft blue light crept in. Zira sat at the corner table holding a small wrench in her delicate hands. She stared at the metal piece like it was alive. Left twist, Eli said, standing beside her. Then pop it out. Zira twisted the bolt. It clicked loose. Her eyes lit up. It worked. Of course, Eli grinned. You're a natural. She didn't smile back. She was still learning how. For the past 3 days, she had helped. Eli fixed simple things, broken tools, old fans, tiny cargo drones. He had even shown her how to weld. Her fingers were still clumsy, and sometimes sparks scared her, but she kept trying. There were bandages on her arms now, but from small burns, not beatings. She felt useful. For the first time, but even as her hands healed, something else stayed, broken, her trust. Whenever someone passed near the shop's gate, Zira would shrink. When a loud noise cracked outside, she'd flinch. And she still slept curled up in a ball as if expecting to be dragged out and thrown away. Eli noticed all of it. One evening, while eating dinner, noodles with sliced roots, Zira suddenly asked, "Why do you live alone?" Eli looked up from his bowl. Didn't expect that question. You smile a lot, she said slowly, but your eyes look like mine. He sat back and rubbed his neck. Yeah, maybe they do. She waited quietly. So Eli sighed and pointed to the shelf, the one with the old photo. Her name was Nea. She wasn't just a friend, she was everything. Zira blinked. I met her during the last border war, he continued. My ship crashed, broken leg, no comms, nothing. I was sure I'd die there. He paused. Then she appeared, skinny alien girl with wild hair and a laser rifle, said I looked like a helpless worm. Zira gave a tiny laugh. Eli smiled. She carried me for 2 days, fought off beasts, found food, bandaged my leg. Didn't even speak my language, but she never left me. What happened to her? Zira asked. She died, he said softly. Jumped in front of. A shot meant for me. Right here. He tapped his chest right over the heart. Zira went silent. She saved me. I tried to save her, but... He looked away. I still hear her voice sometimes. She'd laugh at me bringing home another broken alien girl. Zira stared at the photo again. She looked like me. She had your fire too, Eli replied. Even when everything was broken, she stayed kind. Brave. You have that. No, Zira said firmly. I'm not brave. I ran. I let them beat me. I let them call me names. I didn't fight. Eli leaned forward. You're alive. That's a fight. She looked down at her hands. People think courage is big noise, he continued. Shouting, punching, guns. But sometimes it's just waking up again after the world tries to crush you. Zira didn't speak for a long moment. Then she whispered, I still feel dirty. You're not, he said simply. Zira nodded slowly, but didn't believe it yet. Later that night, she walked into the small back room to find something warm to drink. On the workbench lay a broken mechanical glove, part of an exosuit gauntlet. She picked it up, curious. It was big, heavy, designed for battle. Eli came in behind her. Found that near the old wastelands. It's junk now, but I can't throw it away. Why not? Because Nea wore one just like it, he said. She made it work with one arm after her other was crushed. She always found strength where no one thought it existed. Zira touched the metal again. I want to be like her. You already are. She shook her head. Not yet. But maybe I can learn. That night she stood by the mirror again. Her hair was cleaner now, her bruises fading. The girl in the mirror was still tired, still scared. But her eyes didn't look so empty. She whispered, "Maybe I'm not useless." In another part of the city, across the glowing domes, a shadow moved through a market. An alien male held a scanner device following a faint trail. He narrowed his eyes when the device blinked. "She's still alive," he hissed. "And hiding with a human?" He clenched his fist. "That is forbidden." Back in the junkyard house, Zira finally fell asleep on the couch, holding a small toolkit close to her chest like a toy. Eli sat nearby, watching her with quiet eyes. She's not just fixing machines, he thought. She's fixing herself. The wind across the new Carthos scrapyards was sharp that night, whistling between towers of junk and half-buried shuttle engines. The junkyard was quiet, but danger was creeping near. Inside the small workshop, Zira was focused. Her hands were dirty with grease. She sat beside Eli, working on a flying courier drone. She had learned to solder. She had even built a small tracking chip yesterday. She didn't limp as badly now. But Eli noticed something else. She was beginning to hum while she worked. That small sound, soft and careful, was like a flower pushing through cracked stone. Life was returning to her. "What's that song?" Eli asked. Zira looked embarrassed. "Just something my mother used to sing when I was a hatchling." "It's beautiful." She turned red and looked away. Eli smiled, but deep in his chest he felt something strange, a chill, like someone was watching, and someone was. Across the city, in the alleyways of Sector 9, a tall alien male with burnt skin watched a hologram flicker in his hand. It showed Zira, weak, covered in dirt, kneeling by a food stall. "She was supposed to die out there," he said coldly. "Now she hides behind a human?" Behind him, 2 armored bounty enforcers clicked their weapons. "She carries the clan's birthmark," he growled. "Even if they call her useless, that mark cannot be seen in public. It will shame us." "So what do we do?" one of the enforcers asked. He smiled. "We collect the trash." Back in the junkyard home, Zira cleaned up the tools and placed them carefully on the rack, each one in its correct spot. She was proud of herself. Eli had told her she had a fixer's mind, fast and smart. "Tomorrow," Eli said, "I'll take you to the central bazaar. Let's get you real clothes." Zira paused. "Out there?" "Yeah," he said. "You're not a ghost anymore, Zira." She nodded slowly. She wanted to believe that. That night, she stood on the rooftop, staring at the stars. Her sharp ears twitched at every sound. Part of her still expected a hand to grab her in the dark. Suddenly, a noise. Clink. Metal shifting in the scrapyard below. She narrowed her eyes. Just the wind, she told herself. But in the shadows, glowing red eyes blinked once and disappeared. The next day, Eli handed her a coat. "Looks better than mine, right?" She held it like it was treasure. It was brown, soft, and warm. Not just a coat, a symbol that she belonged somewhere. They walked into the city together. People stared, but she held her head a little higher. Some looked away. Others whispered, but one human child smiled at her. She smiled back. Inside the bazaar, she tried on boots. Eli laughed as she struggled with the right size. "You have weird feet," he said. "They are elegant," she replied, trying to act serious, but failing to hide a grin. Eli bought her boots, a backpack, and even a tool belt. "Now you look like a real mechanic." Zira held the items close. She didn't know why, but something heavy filled her chest. Happiness and fear. She was growing stronger, and that meant someone might come to tear it down. That night, the silence broke. Zira was sorting wires when the front door exploded. Open boom. The blast knocked shelves to the ground. Tools scattered. Sparks flew. Eli leapt in front of her. 3 armored aliens entered. Cold eyes, glowing weapons. Zira of Clan Cernek, one growled. You do not belong here. Zira froze. Order of your bloodline, you are to be erased, another said. Eli stepped forward. She's under my roof, you don't get to touch her. One alien laughed. This is between our kind, stay out, human. No, Eli growled. You threw her away. Now she's mine to protect. The lead enforcer raised a stun cannon. Zira screamed, Stop! Her eyes burned bright with fear, but something else too. Rage. She picked up a pipe and swung it hard. It hit the enforcer's leg. He stumbled. Eli took the chance. He tackled another one. A fight broke out in the junkyard, metal clanging, sparks flying. Zira fought with anything she could grab. A wrench, a welding torch. Blood hit the floor. But the aliens were stronger. One pinned Eli down. Another grabbed Zira's arm. She belongs to us, he shouted. Then something unexpected happened. Zira's palm hit a control panel. The junkyard gate slammed shut behind them, and the lights turned red. Defense mode, activated. The red warning lights blinked fast. Defense mode, activated, flashed across the old junkyard wall screen. A loud siren echoed through the workshop, and large gears began locking the outer doors. The floor vibrated slightly as heavy shutters dropped over the windows. The intruders froze. Zira stood behind the control panel, panting. Her small frame shook, but her eyes burned with fire. She didn't fully understand the system. She had just pressed every button she saw, but she had bought them time. You little pest, one of the enforcers hissed, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, something heavy flew across the room, a broken drone engine slamming into his side and knocking him into the wall. Eli stood across the workshop, shoulders heaving, grease-stained shirt soaked with sweat. I said she's under my protection. The lead alien aimed at him. Then die with her. Eli ducked behind a bench just as a laser beam scorched past. Sparks flew. The old walls lit up with heat. Zira screamed and pulled Eli back. We can't fight them, she said. We don't have to, Eli answered, gripping her wrist. We trap them. He ran into the back room where the old exosuit gauntlet still lay. Beside it was a rusted chest full of parts. He yanked it open. Inside was a power core he'd never dared to test. Zira blinked. That's unstable. So are we, he smirked. The intruders pushed through the front, scanning every corner. Split up, the leader barked. Find them. One alien went left, stepping into the tool corridor. Click. His foot hit a pressure plate. A burst of electricity shot up, slamming him into the ceiling. He fell flat with a moan. Eli had wired it months ago, never expecting to use it on living beings. Zira led another into the parts storeroom, then darted behind a stack of cargo boxes. The alien followed slowly, scanning with his rifle. She grabbed a tool launcher, usually used to toss scrap from one side of the yard to another. As the alien stepped forward, she hit the release. Thunk! A magnetic hammer shot out, striking his shoulder. He crashed to the floor, roaring in pain. Zira stared. At her hands, I just did that, she whispered. Only one enforcer remained now, the leader. He was more careful, more dangerous. He moved through the center of the shop like a hunter, ignoring the chaos. Suddenly, a loud hiss. Steam exploded from a pipe above. He turned, blinded. That's when Eli jumped from above, tackling him from a support beam. They both hit the ground hard. Eli's elbow cracked, but he didn't care. He drove a screwdriver into the alien's shoulder. The alien screamed and threw him across the room. Eli hit the wall, hard. Zira ran to him. Eli! He coughed, blood on his lip. I'm fine. You're not. The enforcer limped toward them, fury in every step. You think you can protect her, human? He growled. She's nothing. She was born nothing. Zira stood between him and Eli. No, she said firmly. I may have been thrown out, but he made me someone. The enforcer laughed coldly. She raised her hands slowly, and then she pressed the small controller on her belt. Whirr! Clank! From the back of the workshop, the exosuit's gauntlet came online. Only the arm was functional, but it was enough. It launched forward, flying like a mechanical fist controlled by her device. The enforcer turned just in time to see it smash into his chest, sending him flying into a pile of scrap. He didn't get up. Silence filled the junkyard. Zira dropped the controller and ran to Eli's side. He groaned but smiled weakly. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she replied. "We did." They called the city enforcers that night. The authorities didn't ask too many questions when they saw 3 stunned aliens tied up in the corner of a junkyard, filled with homemade traps and weaponized junk. One officer pulled Zira aside and asked, "You're not a citizen. You want us to deport you back?" She looked at Eli, then looked back at the officer. "No," she said. "I live here." Later that night, Eli lay on the couch, his arm wrapped in bandages. Zira brought him warm soup, then sat beside him. "You're stronger than I thought," he said. "I never knew I had strength," she replied. "Not until someone gave me a reason to fight." He smiled. "Glad I was that reason." She looked at him, serious now. "You were the first person who looked at me like I was not broken." Eli reached out and gently touched her hand. "You never were broken," he said softly. "Just lost." Outside, the stars blinked like distant candles. Inside the junkyard, a girl once thrown away had just defeated the very people who called her worthless. And for the first time in her life, she believed they were wrong. The junkyard was quiet again. Ash from the earlier fight still floated in the air. Some machines lay broken, tools scattered across the floor, and one drone sparked softly in the corner. But in the middle of all this mess, Eli smiled. Zira was cleaning the workbench. She moved slowly but with purpose. Each wire she picked up, each bolt she placed back, it was more than just tidying up. It was healing. Her back was straighter now, her steps lighter. The limp was still there, but it didn't define her anymore. Eli sat nearby, his arm in a sling, watching her. "You know," he said, "when I first saw you near that noodle stall, I thought, she's not going to last the night." Zira looked over her shoulder, eyes calm. "I thought the same." He chuckled. Then she said softly, "But you changed that." "No," Eli said, shaking his head. "You changed. I just gave you a place to stand." Zira paused. Her fingers touched the small necklace he'd given her the night before. It wasn't gold or expensive, just a wire loop holding a nut from the old exosuit she'd used to defend them. He had said it was proof she was stronger than any weapon. Later that day, a few curious neighbors stopped by. Humans who had once looked away now offered greetings, even food. One brought Zira a blanket, saying, "Heard what happened. Brave girl." Zira didn't know how to respond. Compliments still felt strange, but she bowed politely and whispered, "Thank you." She went back inside and looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair was brushed now. Her skin had a glow. Her eyes, once filled with fear, held something new, purpose. "I don't look useless anymore," she whispered. That evening, as the sky darkened and the stars blinked on, Eli handed Zira a wrapped box. "What's this?" she asked. Open, it inside was a custom-made tool belt, with her name carved carefully into the leather. Zira. Tech her hands shook as she held it. "You made this?" "Took me most of the day," he said, scratching his head. Zira suddenly stepped forward and hugged him, tight. Eli froze, then gently returned the hug. "I don't know what this is," she whispered, her voice trembling, "but I want to protect it." "It's called home," Eli replied softly. "And you belong here." Later, while fixing the broken rooftop lights together, Zira noticed a few kids playing nearby. One waved at her. A little girl, no older than 10, with curious eyes. Zira smiled and waved back. The girl giggled and ran off. "I used to scare people," Zira said. "You still do," Eli smirked. "But now they're scared of how smart you are." She elbowed him, laughing. That night, under the stars, they sat on the roof eating warm bread and stew. Zira looked up at the galaxy above. You know what my clan told me? That I would never be good enough to stand among the stars. Eli leaned back. What do you think now? She thought for a moment. I think they were blind. I think maybe I don't need stars. Maybe I just need a small workshop, a human who doesn't give up on me, and a table full of broken things I can fix. Eli nodded. You fixed me too, you know. She blinked. I did? I stopped caring about people after Nea. I just kept working, breathing. But you? You made me feel again. Zira turned her face away, suddenly shy. Then she asked, What if they come back? Eli looked serious now. Then we'll stand together, not as human and alien, as family. She swallowed. Family. The word was heavy. New. But it didn't scare her anymore. In the distance, far away from the junkyard, the clan elders received news that the mission to retrieve Zira had failed. One whispered, She will spread weakness among humans. But another elder said, Or she will become something far stronger, and they will follow her. Back in the junkyard, Zira sat quietly, writing in a small notebook. What's that? Eli asked. A list, she said. Of what? Everything. I want to fix, starting with the broken junk hovercart and maybe myself. He smiled. You're not broken anymore. The sky above New Carthos turned gold as the twin suns sank behind the scrapyard towers. Light hit the metal heaps and broken ship parts, making them shine like treasure. But today, one small corner of the junkyard looked brand new. A cloth banner hung over the shop entrance, hand-painted in 2 colors, brown for Earth, violet for Zira's people. The banner read, Zira and Eli's repair station, no junk too. Broken. Inside the workshop, things were different now. The broken walls had been patched. Shelves were filled neatly with tools and parts. A new security system stood ready in the corner, Zira's idea, made from pieces of old drones. There was even a second workbench now, hers, marked with a glowing nameplate, Tech Hand Zira. Zira walked in, carrying a bag of parts. Her new boots clicked against the metal floor. She wore her tool belt proudly, and her hair was tied back, revealing sharp, intelligent eyes. Eli looked up from the counter. Back already? They gave me a discount, she said with a small grin. The shopkeeper called me Miss Zira. I didn't know how to respond. You smile and say, Thank you, Eli said, handing her a warm drink. That's what people with names do. Zira sat beside him. She held the cup with both hands, letting the warmth soak in. I never had a real name before, she said softly. You always had it, Eli replied. You just never had someone who said it with respect. She looked down. You gave me that. No, he said. You earned it. Later that day, a small crowd gathered outside their shop. Human and alien customers stood in line with broken tech, asking for help. Word had spread. A quiet junkyard girl and her human partner could fix anything. Zira worked beside Eli, confident and calm. She explained wiring to an old man, helped a child repair her toy bot, and even smiled when someone complimented her work. She didn't flinch anymore. She didn't hide. She stood tall. That evening, a knock came at the door. Eli opened it and froze. A woman stood there, wrapped in a deep violet cloak. Her face looked like Zira's, but older and harder. Her eyes were sharp, yet filled with something close to regret. Zira stepped forward and gasped. Mother? The woman nodded. I came to see if the stories were true. That the daughter we left behind now wears tools and speaks with humans. Zira's hands curled into fists. You left me to die, she said coldly. The woman didn't argue. She bowed her head. We were wrong. I was wrong. Zira stepped closer. Why now? Because you're no longer a shadow, her mother said. You shine. And when you shine, even those who turned their backs must look again. Eli stepped forward, protective. Zira raised a hand. It's okay. She looked her mother in the eye. I'm not coming back to the clan, she said. I'm not yours anymore. The woman nodded again. Then tell me, who are you now? Zira paused, then turned to Eli. He gave a small nod. She turned back and said, I am Zira of Earth, mechanic, tech hand, and I fix what others throw away, including myself. Her mother said nothing, then slowly smiled. You are stronger than any elder ever dreamed, she whispered. Goodbye, daughter. Zira didn't reply. She simply watched as the woman disappeared into the sunset. That night the two sat on the rooftop again, watching the stars. You okay? Eli asked. Zira nodded. She came to see if I had value now, and I do, but not for her, not for them. She looked at him. For me. Eli smiled. I like this version of you. She leaned back, arms behind her head. So do I. The wind blew gently. Lights from the city blinked in the distance. Inside the shop, the machines rested. The banner over the door fluttered softly, and in the middle of the stars and junk and quiet laughter, one thing was clear. Zira was not useless, not ugly, not trash. She was home. She was wanted. She was loved.